Catherine O'Leary kneels in the straw. She is 44 years old. She is Irish. She is Catholic, and she is about to become the most hated woman in America for a crime she did not commit. It is 8:45 in the evening, Sunday, October 8, 1871. Catherine pats the flank of her brown cow. She slips her wooden rosary into the pocket of her apron, 53 small beads of dark oak, worn smooth by 20 years of daily prayer. She closes the barn door. She walks 20 feet to her house on DeCoven Street, number 137. She is in bed by 9. In 15 minutes, her barn will be on fire. In 31 hours, the city of Chicago will no longer exist. And in 10 days, a newspaper will print a lie about her that will ruin her life. 300 people are going to die tonight. 100,000 will lose their homes. And Catherine O'Leary, who is asleep right now, will be blamed for all of it. Through AI Reconstruction, I am standing on DeCoven Street, Chicago, on October 8, 1871. The city around me is made of wood. The houses, wood. The sidewalks, wood. The streets are paved with wooden blocks soaked in pine tar. There are 60,000 wooden buildings in Chicago tonight. The city has not seen meaningful rain in 12 weeks. It is a matchbox. What nobody here knows yet is that in less than an hour, someone will strike the match. And what nobody will know for 126 years is that the person they are about to accuse is not the person who struck it. Chicago is 20 years old. In 1840, this was an empty prairie on Lake Michigan. Tonight, it is the fourth largest city in the United States. 334,000 people live here. Most of them are Irish, German, and Scandinavian immigrants. Most of them work 60-hour weeks. Most of them have never seen a brick house. Catherine O'Leary is one of them. She emigrated from County Kerry, Ireland in 1849, during the potato famine. She and her husband Patrick saved for 15 years to buy their small wooden cottage. She sells milk door to door from 5 cows. Her customers pay 2 cents a quart. On a good week, she earns $3. Down the street lives Daniel Sullivan. He is a drayman, a hauler. He has a wooden leg from a Teamster accident. His neighbors call him Peg Leg. He is 26 years old. Tonight, at 9:25, he will be the first person to see smoke coming from Catherine's barn. Across the city, on the 4th floor of the Cook County Courthouse, a man named Matthias Schaefer climbs into the cupola. He is the fire watchman. For 8 hours each night, he scans Chicago through a spyglass. 1 alarm bell, 1 telegraph line, 1 man against a wooden city. His telegraph operator tonight is William J. Brown. Brown is 42. He has been on duty since 6 in the evening. He is tired. In 2 hours, Brown will make a decision that will kill people. The Chicago Fire Department has 185 men tonight, 17 steam engines, 23 hose carts. Chief Robert A. Williams commands them. Yesterday, Saturday, October 7th, his department fought a 17-hour fire on West Taylor Street. 4 city blocks destroyed. 16 firemen injured. 3 steam engines damaged. Tonight, most of his men are asleep for the first time in 36 hours. His equipment is broken. His hoses are scorched. Chief Williams has been warning Mayor Roswell B. Mason for 2 years. The city is a fire trap. The fire code is a joke. Builders laugh at it. The mayor does nothing. 3 blocks north of the O'Leary cottage, in a wooden tenement called Conley's Patch, 200 Irish families live in shacks built directly against each other. Outhouses share walls with kitchens. Coal stoves vent through paper-thin plaster. The streets between the shacks are barely 3 feet wide. When the fire comes, the people of Conley's Patch will have nowhere to run. One of them is Mary Keogh. She is 29 years old. She is a widow. Her husband died of cholera 2 summers ago. She has an infant son named James. Tonight, she sings him to sleep in a rocking chair by her single window. She does not know that in 2 hours, she will be running for her life with James wrapped in a wet bedsheet. 3 miles east, on the corner of Dearborn and Madison, a man named Joseph Medill is working late in his office. He is 48 years old. He is the editor of the Chicago Tribune. Tonight, Medill is writing an editorial for tomorrow's paper about the drought, about the fires, about the wooden city. The same warning he has printed 6 times this summer. In 10 hours, Joseph Medill will watch the Chicago Tribune building burn. The Tribune building is supposedly fireproof. Brick walls 3 feet thick. Iron shutters on every window. Medill wrote about it himself when it was completed in 1869. "The building cannot burn," he wrote. Tomorrow night, he will see that sentence in print, "through the flames." On September 10, 1871, 28 days before tonight, the Chicago Tribune ran Medill's editorial. I am reading the exact words. "The absence of rain has left everything in so inflammable a condition that a spark might set a fire which would sweep from end to end of the city." They knew. The National Board of Fire Underwriters, the insurance industry, rated Chicago in August 1871. Their verdict: the city is a tinderbox. Its fire risk is the worst of any major American city. They recommended doubling the premium on Chicago properties. 4 insurance companies refused to write new policies at all. The mayor did nothing. On September 30th, the Board of Police and Fire Commissioners submitted a formal request. Ban wooden construction within 1 mile of the downtown business district. The request has been sitting on the mayor's desk for 8 days. It is sitting there tonight. Mayor Mason owns 3 lumber yards. Brick construction would cut his profits in half. Between July and September of 1871, Chicago had 620 separate fires, an average of 7 per day. On the Saturday before tonight, the city nearly burned once already. The Lowe and Holmes planing mill on Canal Street. The fire that injured 16 firemen. It should have been a warning. It wasn't. It is now 9 o'clock. Catherine is asleep. Patrick is asleep. Their 5 cows are in the barn. The wind is coming in from the southwest at 15 miles per hour. The temperature is 61 degrees Fahrenheit. The humidity is 19%. Something is burning in the barn. We will never know what started the fire. We only know what did not. It was not Catherine's cow kicking over a lantern. It was not Catherine at all. She was not in the barn. There is no record of a lantern. The cows were kept in stalls. The hay was in the loft above. The most likely cause, established by forensic researcher Richard Bales 130 years later, was a spark from a neighbor's chimney, or a dropped pipe, or embers blown in from the Canal Street fire the night before. But we do not know. What we know is this. 9:25 p.m., Daniel Pegleg Sullivan is sitting on the wooden sidewalk across DeKoven Street. He sees orange light flickering inside the O'Leary barn. He shouts, "Fire!" He crosses the street on his wooden leg. He kicks open the barn door. Smoke and flame. He tries to untie the cows. He saves 1 calf. He falls, running out. The barn behind him collapses. 9:30 p.m. Matthias Schaefer in the courthouse cupola 1.5 miles northeast sees the glow. Through his spyglass, he locates the fire. He calls down to William Brown of the Telegraph. He says, "Box 342. Box 342 is at Canalport Avenue and Halsted Street, 1.5 miles from the actual fire. The steam engine America departs the wrong firehouse. It arrives at an empty corner. The driver sees no fire. He waits for orders." 9:35 p.m. Schaefer realizes his mistake. He sees the fire has not moved toward Halsted. It is southwest, DeKoven Street. He calls down to Brown. "Correct the alarm. Send box 296. Brown refuses. His exact words, recorded in the official inquiry 1 month later. It would create confusion. The engines are already on their way. For 7 minutes, Brown refuses to correct the alarm. In those 7 minutes, the fire jumps Taylor Street. It crosses DeKoven. It enters a lumber yard. 400,000 board feet of dry pine. In those 7 minutes, the fire becomes unstoppable. 9:45 p.m. The first engine finally arrives at DeKoven Street, 40 minutes after Sullivan's shout. They do not find a barn fire. They find an inferno 3 blocks wide. 10:30 p.m. Catherine wakes to her husband shouting. She reaches for her rosary. She wraps it around her fist. She runs into the street. Her neighbors are running north. She sees her barn. Gone. She sees her cows. Gone. She does not yet know that the hayloft smoldering in front of her is about to swallow her city. 11 p.m. The fire jumps Van Buren Street. It enters the central business district. Wooden warehouses explode as fuel. The flames climb 100 feet high. The wind is increased to 30 miles per hour. The fire is creating its own weather. It is generating internal winds of 60 miles per hour. Meteorologists will later call this a fire tornado. Internal temperature, 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt cast iron. 11:15 p.m. The fire reaches Conley's Patch. Mary Kehoe wakes to screaming outside her door. She wraps infant James in a wet sheet from the wash basin. She pushes through the crowd in her nightgown and her bare feet. Behind her, the tenement collapses with her neighbors still inside. 57 people die in Conley's Patch in 4 minutes. Mary reaches the Chicago River at 2 in the morning, her feet cut to ribbons on broken glass. James is still alive. He will live to be 93. His grandchildren are still alive today. 11:30 p.m. The crowd on the LaSalle Street Bridge is 10,000 deep. Every person in the South Division of Chicago is trying to cross the river to the north. The bridge is made of oak timbers. It is 8 feet wide. A man named Anton Hessing pushes through the crowd, pulling a wheelbarrow with his invalid mother inside. She is 81 years old. He has carried her for 6 blocks. She dies on the bridge. Of fright, the doctors will later say. Anton carries her body across anyway. He will bury her in Graceland Cemetery on October 13th. Midnight. The Chicago River is 150 feet wide. It is full of wooden bridges. It is full of oil-soaked barges. The river is supposed to stop the fire. The fire crosses the river at 1:30 in the morning. The bridges burn. The barges burn. The oil on the surface of the water burns. A river of fire flows through Chicago. 2 a.m. Monday. The Chicago Tribune building, the one that cannot burn, catches fire. Joseph Medill stands on Madison Street watching. The iron shutters warp from the heat. The brick walls hold for 20 minutes. Then they crack. Then they collapse inward. The presses, the typesetters, the back issues of every Tribune ever printed, all gone. Medill walks 3 miles home to Dearborn Park. He finds his house still standing. 8 weeks later, Joseph Medill is elected mayor of Chicago on a platform of brick construction laws. The man who warned Chicago for years finally gets to pass the laws. They come too late for Catherine. 3 a.m. Monday. The fire reaches the pumping station on Pine Street. The station supplies water to the entire city. The roof catches. The pumps stop. Chicago has no water to fight the fire. 7 a.m. Monday. The Cook County Courthouse, where Matthias Schaefer still stands in the cupola, catches fire. He runs down the spiral staircase as the timbers crack behind him. He survives. The great bell in the tower falls 4 stories and embeds itself in the basement floor. You can still see it today in the Chicago History Museum. Tuesday, 3 a.m. It starts to rain, light rain, but enough. By Tuesday evening, the fire is out. The numbers come in over the next 2 weeks. 300 confirmed dead, 200 more missing, presumed burned beyond recognition. 100,000 homeless, 1 out of every 3 people in Chicago. 17,500 buildings destroyed, 3 3/10 square miles of city gone. $222 million in damage. In 2026 dollars, $5 billion. Only one public building in the fire zone survives, the Chicago Water Tower. 182 feet tall, yellow limestone from Joliet. It stands alone in a wasteland of ash. It still stands today. Catherine O'Leary stands in the ashes of her home on Tuesday morning. Her rosary is in her fist. The cottage Patrick built with 15 years of savings is gone. Her 5 cows, gone. Her livelihood, gone. She is 44 years old and she has nothing. But she is alive. Patrick is alive. Their children are alive. Daniel Sullivan, who kicked in the barn door, is alive. She thinks the worst is over. The worst has not started. On October 10th, telegraph messages go out across America. General Philip Sheridan arrives from Fort Leavenworth with federal troops. President Ulysses S. Grant sends his personal aide, Congressman James Garfield, the future president, to inspect the damage. Garfield writes to his wife Lucretia the next morning. His letter survives. I am reading from it directly. I have seen Richmond after Lee surrendered. I have seen Atlanta after Sherman. Chicago is worse than both. Chicago is simply gone. The Chicago Relief and Aid Society, founded on October 13th, distributes $4 million in 3 months, the largest private relief effort in American history up to that date. Lincoln Park becomes a tent city for 30,000 people. Volunteers from Cincinnati, St. Louis, New York, and Boston arrive by train within 48 hours. Even London sends aid. Queen Victoria herself donates a collection of 8,000 books to restart the public library. The city that burned to the ground in 31 hours starts to stand up again in 3 days. Down in the rubble of what used to be downtown, a 13-year-old girl named Bessie Bradwell is carrying a wooden filing box. Inside, the legal papers her mother, Myra Bradwell, will one day use to become the first woman lawyer in Illinois. Bessie ran 3 miles through burning Chicago with that box under her arm. The papers survive. In 1890, Myra is admitted to the bar. Bessie becomes a lawyer too. By October 20th, 2 architects named William LeBaron Jenney and Daniel Burnham are already drawing plans for a new Chicago. A Chicago of steel frame and brick. A Chicago that cannot burn. 14 years later, Jenney completes the home insurance building, 10 stories, a skeleton of steel, the first modern skyscraper. Every tall building in the world today is descended from the ashes of that fire. Chicago rebuilds. In 3 years, the city is larger than it was before. In 10 years, it is the second largest in America. But Chicago needs someone to blame. October 18, 1871, 10 days after the fire, the Chicago Evening Journal publishes a story on page 1. The story claims that on the night of the fire, Catherine O'Leary went out to the barn with a kerosene lantern to milk one of her cows. The cow kicked over the lantern. The lantern started the fire. Catherine ran away and hid. Every detail is false. Catherine was in bed. There was no lantern. Cows are milked in the morning, not at night. On November 23, 1871, Catherine testifies under oath before the official Board of Police and Fire Commissioners' inquiry. Her testimony is recorded in stenographer's shorthand. She says, and I am quoting her exact words, "I was in my bed. I was sleeping. I have 5 children and I rise early. I do not go to the barn at night. I have never done so in my life." Daniel Sullivan testifies the same day. He confirms Catherine was not in the barn. The inquiry officially clears her. The report is filed on December 12, 1871. It did not matter. The Chicago Tribune picked up the story, then Harper's Weekly, then the New York Times. The cow story went coast to coast. Cartoons appeared, songs were written, vaudeville acts. An Irish Catholic immigrant woman had burned down Chicago with her cow. It was too good a story to check. The reporter's name was Michael Ahern. He worked for the Chicago Republican. 22 years later, in 1893, Ahern confessed. He wrote, and I am quoting him directly, "The O'Leary legend was a journalistic fiction. We needed a colorful yarn. I made it up." Catherine was 46 years old when the lie was printed. She lived another 24 years. Every one of those years, She was the woman whose cow burned Chicago. In 1872, a Harper's Weekly cartoon shows Catherine as a bent, grinning witch, with the cow kicking over a lantern behind her. The cartoon is reprinted in 30 newspapers. In 1877, a music hall song called "There'll Be a Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight" adds her name to the second verse. Drunks sing it on Halsted Street outside her window. In 1881, on the 10th anniversary of the fire, reporters from 12 newspapers camp outside her new cottage. She does not come out for 3 weeks. Her neighbor, a woman named Bridget Foley, brings her bread every morning. Bridget is the only friend she has left. Her children were attacked at school. Her home on Dekoven was vandalized 3 times in 1871 alone. Reporters camped outside her door every October until 1895. She refused every interview. She stopped attending Mass. The other parishioners would not sit near her. Patrick O'Leary died in 1894. He was 71. His death certificate said nervous exhaustion. Catherine died on July 3, 1895. Her parish priest laid her wooden rosary across her folded hands in the coffin. The 53 beads of dark oak, worn smooth, that she had carried out of her burning home 24 years earlier. Her death certificate said acute pneumonia. Her family said she died of a broken heart. She was 68 years old. She is buried in Mount Olivet Cemetery on the south side of Chicago. It took 126 years for Chicago to apologize. On October 6, 1997, Alderman Edward Burke introduced Resolution 97-R-444 in the Chicago City Council. The resolution officially exonerates Catherine O'Leary of any responsibility for the Great Chicago Fire. It passes unanimously. Catherine's great-great-granddaughter accepts the resolution at City Hall. She has grown up hearing the jokes. Catherine O'Leary did not start the Great Chicago Fire. A wooden city, 3 months without rain, a mayor who refused to act, a watchman's misjudgment, a telegrapher who refused to correct his mistake, and a reporter who made up a story. Those started the Great Chicago Fire. But Catherine paid for all of them. 147 years later, in November 2018, the town of Paradise, California, burns to the ground. Drought, dry vegetation, a delayed emergency alarm. 85 dead. The deadliest wildfire in California history. The utility company, Pacific Gas and Electric, pays $16 billion in settlements. No executive goes to prison. The fire finds a different face each time, but the system underneath is the same. Catherine O'Leary's cottage is gone. Her barn is gone. The lumber yards of 1871 are gone. The Cook County Courthouse is gone. Conley's Patch is gone. Only the water tower remains. And the rosary. Her descendants have it now. 53 beads of dark oak, worn smooth by 20 years of daily prayer, and by 155 years of waiting to be believed. 300 people died in the Great Chicago Fire. Their names are carved on a bronze plaque on Dekoven Street, on the side of the Chicago Fire Academy, which stands today exactly where Catherine's barn once stood. The academy trains the people who will put out the next fire. They lied about Catherine O'Leary for 126 years. Don't let it be 127. Subscribe to DarkCon. They survived so you wouldn't forget.